In any case, thank you so much for inviting me to introduce you to the cybersecurity scholarship programs at the PACE. And I know all of you have been involved with the club and have been for at least a year. So, and most of you are familiar with the scholarship program, but there are some details that you may be interested in revising or going over, especially because we'll launch the call for applications on or about December 1st. So this is in preparation for that call for applications, okay? What I want to discuss today is give you an overview of the scholarship program, describe the benefits, and then talk a little bit about the application process and requirements. And I'll leave most of the time for Q&A because this conversation will probably come from the Q&A session. Let's move to motivation. Are we there, Elon? Okay, super. So why is it important to understand what the motivation should be behind considering an application for those cybersecurity scholarships? And I'll explain in a second why I address it as a plural. But why is it important to discuss motivation? Well, for me, as a teacher, as an educator, I want you to be happy and successful. So, what makes students or graduates happy and successful is being motivated by a desire to pursue a public service career, specifically with the federal government, and in the case of the cybersecurity scholarship program, with the DoD, and furthermore, a desire to pursue a career in cybersecurity. Okay? So I understand that the financial benefits of the scholarship are very, very enticing, but that should certainly, I don't advise you to use that as the main driver. So if you have those desires for public service and an interest in cybersecurity work for the federal government, then I strongly encourage you to pursue. Cybersecurity scholarships at PACE. We are supporting two programs. So the first one, and the reason why I put them in order is because of the availability of funds and application deadlines. So the Department of Defense Cyber Scholarship Program is a program funded by the Department of Defense, and we've been supporting this for a little over 10 years now, and graduated more than 11 students. And the Cyber Scholarship for Service program is funded by the National Science Foundation, and we've had that for 10 years now. So we've been in this business for a while, and myself particularly, I've been on this journey for the get-go. So I've been working with all the students that have graduated so far. Let me tell you a little bit about both programs because they are in essence the same type of scholarship program, but there are some small differences between the two. So I will highlight those differences. You'll understand, make informed decisions as you move forward. I'll start with the Department of Defense Cyber Scholarship Program. You'll also hear about this program. It's also known as the DoD CISP. There is no limit in the number of awards that are being given each year. However, the program is highly competitive. And just to give you an idea about the level of competitiveness, is about the DoD selects about 30 to 50 new students each year. And that's from around the country and very good schools, including PACE. So it's a rather select group of students that get into the program at the bachelor's, master's, and PhD level. So if you are an undergraduate student, you are basically competing with master's and doctoral students from other universities. That makes it competitive. Um, the number of years that you could receive support from the Department of Defense CISP is basically as many years as you need to complete your highest desired degree. So I had students who stayed in for a year and completed their bachelor's. I had students who stayed for 2 years for their bachelor's and then 2 years for a master's. And I had a student who was here for his senior year, undergrad, master's, and PhD. So it's really a great benefit to have that financial support. However, the service obligation, service is the biggest component of the scholarship programs. This is why you get the scholarship for. And the service obligation is 1 year of service for each year of scholarships. And in this particular program, the selections, the student selections, so you apply to the program to us at PACE, our team, but then the selections are made directly by the DoD agencies. So once you get selected, you have an internship and a permanent job secured upon graduation. Any questions about this program? Okay, I'll continue and then we'll leave most questions for Q&A. Take down any questions you might have and we'll address them at Q&A. Let's move on to the next slide, which is the CyberCorp Scholarship for Service. So this is the second program we are supporting at PACE. It's also known as PACE CyberCorps or SFS, both names. It's funded by the National Science Foundation. And currently, we have just finished our previous round of funding, and we are pending funding approval from the NSF, which we'll know more about sometime in March of next year, maybe middle, end of March. We hope so. You never know with government business when things will happen. And there's also no guarantee that the funds will be available. So again, just the way it is very competitive for you guys to get a scholarship. It is very competitive for PACE to secure funding, which is typically in the millions. But if we were to have the funding, then we typically award 3 to 4 scholarships, new scholarships each year. And our program, this upcoming program design, is for undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral. Just checking if you still hear me, okay? Okay, thank you so much. Just hope my wireless headphones don't kick in again. So one difference between the CISP and CyberCorps is that with the CyberCorps, you can only receive support for up to 3 years. So whether it's to complete your undergraduate degree or do 2 years of undergrad and 1 year of master's, or 1 year of undergrad and 3 years of master's, this is how you can, there are very different combinations, but the maximum number of years is 3 years. And in this case, student selections are made by a PACE University faculty panel. So selections are made by us at PACE. You know most of us on the panel. It's faculty members you have in the classroom or you have worked with as part of the Cybersecurity Club or competitions. And another difference with this program is that students must secure internship and their own internship or permanent position. So we do provide the PACE CyberCorps program provides resources, and in addition to us, we receive resources from the Office of Personnel Management, which is the partner, NSF partner in this program. But you are ultimately responsible to identify and apply for positions. And the service obligation, just like with the CISP, is 1 year of service for each year of scholarship support. And the current requirement is that 80% of our graduates from the CyberCorps program have to go into the executive branch, which is meaning like federal, but there are specific agencies that fall under the executive branch. So it's a little bit more restrictive than it was in the past. If you were familiar with a program in the past, this is a new requirement. It used to be state, local, federal government, but it's no longer the case. And I mentioned that because one of the aspects you have to consider when applying is that relocation will very likely be required. Okay, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about minimum eligibility requirements. And I think it's minimum only in regards to your GPA, but everything else it's basically eligibility requirements. You must be a United States citizen or permanent resident, currently enrolled in or applied for admission. You're all here, so you're enrolled in a program at PACE, and you must pursue or intend to pursue a course of study in cybersecurity. It says here is approved by the program director, and that, let's say you're currently working on your bachelor's in computer science, but then you want the scholarship support for a master's in cybersecurity, or you are in a bachelor's in computer science or information technology, but you're going to do a minor in insurance. So something along those lines, whether it's either a minor or the major directly related to cybersecurity. So you can apply in your junior year or senior. So it's rising juniors, which basically you're a sophomore, right? In spring, you'll be a sophomore, you're eligible to apply. And then also juniors and seniors, masters, and of course, doctoral students. You must have a 3.2 GPA if you're an undergraduate student, or a 3.5 GPA if you're a graduate student. And most importantly, you must meet selection criteria for federal employment, including obtaining a security clearance, which I'll touch upon a little bit later. But that is really important. So I say minimum requirements in terms of GPA because with a highly competitive scholarship program such as this one, not only is it difficult to get into the program with a 3.2 GPA, but it would not be easy for you to find a job or a well-paid job in the government. So the higher your GPA, the better. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about benefits. And I'm now on the slide that describes tuition, textbook allowance, stipend. I know Elon is I want to make sure we're on the same page. So basically, the CISP and the CyberCorps are both post-academic scholarships, right? There are small differences between the two, but in essence, the big ideas are the same. So what you get if you get accepted into any one of those programs is your tuition, your full tuition. And if you're an undergraduate, it's up to 18 credits. If you're a graduate student, then we typically budget for a 30 credit program. And then you get an allowance for academic fees. Most of the time it covers all your academic fees, but now and then some fees pop up, and also there's like a meal plan, and those would not be in the fee allowance budget. But in any case, most of your fees are covered as well. There is also a textbook allowance. There's a difference between, I highlighted the difference between the two programs, and also you receive a stipend. So you have your full tuition as well as a stipend. Again, very small differences in stipends between the two programs, around $12,000 at the undergraduate level and $15,000 at the graduate. That's what you would receive on top of your tuition fees. And then also, depending on the program, there are different professional development opportunities. With the CISP, for example, you get travel allowance to attend conferences, and you also get a laptop allowance, your first year into the program. And with the Cyber Corps, you get some funds to attend, get certifications, or go to conferences as well. So in essence, it's a like a holistic package that offers you support with your tuition, books, gives you the stipend, so you don't have to worry about working. And by the way, you can only work during the semester with approval from the program director. So that stipend kind of gives you the peace of mind that allows you to focus on your study. That's the big idea. So let's talk a little bit about application now. I advise everyone to refer first, as it is your first step, refer to the program web pages. Elon has this presentation slide, and those are links. The DoD CISP and PACE Cybercorps are links to the program. But you can also access them through Seidenberg's website, and then go to the Cybersecurity Education and Research Lab. You can find the scholarship programs there. Please know that I only sent the latest updates to the web team today, so I expect everything will be up and running, updated by December 1st. So the information you can access right now is not current, but that's why I wanted to give you a heads up. So when December 1st comes and you get invited to apply, you'll connect back with this talk, and hopefully we'll give you some guidance. So the first step is to check the program webpage and read information. I know we are not used to reading anymore. So especially the DoD CISP has a very long document about what the program is and what it does. And but I strongly encourage you to take the time and read, because it's a big commitment. It's a big commitment on your part to get into this. And so you want to be informed and understand what you're signing up for, what you're aiming to apply for. Moreover, the application process itself and preparing the application package is very time consuming. So in order to prepare a good application package, I estimate that you need maybe a couple of full days of dedicated work, at least to put things together. I would say 2 to 3 days, full days. You wanna make sure that you're putting this time for something that's important to you, and you really want to give it your best. This year, it was the case in the past, but we changed the process a little bit. So this year you have the option to apply for one scholarship program, so for CISP, for example, or for the Cyber Corps program, but knowing that if you apply for that only, you may not be considered, because if you don't get the funds, you cannot be in the running for that one. So, or you can choose to apply for both. So when you apply on January 15th, 2021, in your email submission, you can indicate if you want CISP, Cyber Corps, or both. And that will allow us to, as we did in the past, to make sure that the students are in the running for all the opportunities available to them. We have also some new directions this year for the application, and I recommend to read all the program description and follow the instructions for application submission. So, for example, we have this year a change in the CISP application is to use a um, resume template that the DoD gave us. So they want everyone to follow that template. So make sure if you do so. In addition, make sure that another aspect that takes a lot of time and effort is the filling out the application form. So pay attention to all those details. Make sure you follow them rigorously and with care, because the application is a reflection of the quality of the candidate, right? So you want to give it your best. You want to present yourself in the best. Elon, I'm moving to the next page, which is application package. So on January 15th, 2021 is your deadline for definitely for the DoD CISP, but as I indicated, you can be considered for both scholarship programs if you're so inclined. So we're going to take all the documents you have to prepare for the DoD CISP, and we are going to take them into account for evaluation in the case of a cyber corps if funding were to be granted to us in spring 2020. So there is an application form for the DoD CISP, which you'll be able to access from the website. It's a PDF document, a fillable PDF document. So please do not do any handwriting. Everything should be typed, and also digital signatures should be used. And again, pay attention to details. You're supposed to initial each entry, and there are a lot of other little things that one should pay attention to. So please do that, so we don't have to return the application to you, or you may get disqualified if such errors, considered errors, are getting to the DoD. Resume, as I indicated, this year we have to use the template provided by the DoD. It's not a big change from what Career Services is advising you on currently, so it's a very similar format. There is a competency statement. It's nothing more than an essay, but it is an essay with a focus, and that focus is on specific competencies. So one competency is IT technical, I would say. One is cybersecurity specific. One is problem solving specific. And then the rest are related to soft skills such as communication, teamwork, and the responses are, as you write that competency statement, please use each statement, do a copy and paste of the statement followed by your response. And I think this is one of the application documents that requires most attention and advisement on my part. And I always advise students to use stories, their activities, their projects, to highlight how they are meeting those competency statements. So try to avoid copy and paste answers from textbooks, but rather use your own experiences to showcase those competencies. Okay. Official transcripts. So you will need official transcripts not only from PACE, but also from any other institutions of higher education you have attended in the past, whether it's community college or another university. So make sure you request those now, because those transcripts are, take a while to be issued. I've noticed a change over the last couple of years in that transcripts can now be issued digitally. So you just make a request at the institution, and then they send an electronic copy of your transcript to the person who's supposed to receive it. And that tends to take less time. But I also see that not all institutions are in that system yet. So again, good advice is to start requesting your official transcripts now. And last but not least, you'll need 2 letters of reference. And you can have those coming from 2 faculty members, or a faculty member and a supervisor from internships or previous jobs. The idea with the reference letters is to have someone who can speak to those 6 competencies you have addressed in the statement, in your own statement. So even the letters are supposed to be formatted in that way, again, to provide some focus and specific insight into how you're prepared to meet those competencies. Okay. I want to touch base a little bit on security clearance. So that's the next slide after application package. So we are not asking any questions at Pace University. We are not conducting a security clearance here at Pace. We are not security clearance experts by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but we understand and we need to convey to you that if you feel like you're in a position not to pass a clearance, um, then maybe you don't want to waste your time on applying. And if because you can sometimes just apply, get in, and then if you cannot pass the clearance, you have to pay your scholarship money back. So we don't want that to happen. And in order to be informed as to what's required for a security clearance, I have a reference here to this government form called Questionnaire for National Security Positions. And as government would have it, it's always some acronym and some number. So it's Form SF86. And it's a very lengthy application, but you can glance at some of the pages, particularly in the beginning, to get a sense for what they're interested in. Overall, it's about financial stability. Do you have any debt? It's about mental stability. Your history with drugs and alcohol, and so on. And it's also about matters of nationality, because you would be in positions of national security. So situations where whether yourself or perhaps a family member who were not born in the U.S. may impact the range of agencies you can apply for, and also may cap the type of level of clearance you can obtain for a position. So those are things you should keep in mind, because it's about your career, your trajectory, and it's important to understand what such jobs entail. And last but not least, relocation. So I mentioned earlier that it is very likely that those selected for either program will have to relocate. Now, the majority of my graduates have been in the Washington, D.C. area, right? Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C. I had a couple in the Carolinas, and I also had one in Georgia, one in Pennsylvania, but the majority were in Washington, D.C. And of course, when there was when the cyber corps allowed students to work for local or state, we had quite a few students that were placed here locally with agencies in New York, and it was very convenient. But know that there's never a guarantee. So I advise you going into this to just not only yourselves, but also your parents. Be prepared for that move. And of course, it's early to say that why would you worry about that if you don't know if you get selected? But it's a discussion you may want to have with yourself and with your family to see if this is something you're interested in pursuing. Okay, so just taking the opportunity to speak a little bit about ways in which you can strengthen your application, right? Because it's a competitive program, you want to prepare a competitive application. And I mentioned, getting some information, such as making sure that you can work on you can obtain a security clearance. We talked about your competency statement and how to approach it. But let's talk a little bit about your resume and the quality of that material in your resume, which should not be underestimated. I recommend you start by working with a career services advisor if you haven't done so already, and they will help you build that standard one-pager resume. And after you have that, and you um, indicate intent to apply for the cybersecurity scholarship programs, I would be happy to provide additional feedback on your resume, specifically focusing on technical projects, labs, research, your involvement in the competitions, because those are all technical or security specifics, and those are in my area of expertise and not necessarily things that career services are very familiar with. So I may be in position to myself or my colleagues be in better position to advise you on how to describe those projects and activities. And there's often, a lot happening in the classroom, and you just put there that you took CIT 251. That's not very helpful on a resume. What courses you have? We can always look at the transcript to see what courses you have taken. But what we're mostly interested in when we make the selections is really the type of projects, things that you have done, things that you have implemented, and things along that nature. So start with career services, then get advice from myself or Dr. Chen, and then reminder to use the resume template that will be available on the DoD CISP web page of the Cyberberg website. I'm on the contact slide right now. We are working as a team. So Dr. Li Chao Chen, who's the executive director of the cybersecurity programs, and myself are the key faculty members managing the program, leading the program. You may also speak with Dr. Darren Hayes, though he may direct you to us for advisement or additional information. So it's the two of us feeding into and advising the students on applications, and then the scholars who are in, they work with us directly. But we'll also have one of the Seidenberg advisors help with responding to general program inquiry. So the process this year, which is different from previous years, is as follows. Any general scholarship program inquiries or inquiries related to your application and advisement towards your application should be emailed to cyberscholarship@pace.edu. And from there, Dr. Chen, myself, and the advisor will share that inbox, and we will respond to your emails, as we see fit in our, capacity. This way, you'll have access to more than one person. I used to be the only person doing this, so this way you have access to 3 people instead of one, and you can get your answers, your questions answered much more, much more quickly and in much more depth. So hopefully this new process will help. And one of the last slides. So for an informal scoop or the inside scoop on the scholarship programs, I encourage you to connect with your colleagues. They can be an excellent resource. And I have here a slide. Of course, we're all virtual now, so you see our zoomed faces. And I put a scholarship program icon next to each person, and you can probably read the names from the slides. And reach out to those viewers and ask them how they went about preparing their application, what made them successful in being selected, what they think was the key to their success. And then ask them to give you some insight about their experience so far. Has it been a good one? Has it been a stressful one? Like, try to get all that inside scoop, because those details are very, very important. And that being said, I'm now opening to Q&A, and let's see what you have for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna unmute. think that's Will. Will, if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, sure. I was just wondering, I'm currently a sophomore, and I was wondering if any of these are available to sophomores, or whether you think it'd be better to wait a little longer before applying to any of these.
Okay, excellent question. And as you ask your questions, please tell me your name and what program you're in. It's helpful for me. It helps me then connect with you later on if you reach out to me. So excellent question. So you're a sophomore, and in spring you will be in what's called the status. Your status will be called the rising junior, right? So you will apply. You are eligible to apply in the spring. You don't have to, but you're eligible to apply in the spring, and you apply in the spring, and then those selected would start in the fall of 2021, right? And that's when you'll be a junior. So that's the idea of eligible as a rising junior. That's what it means. Now, to the second part of the question, should I apply now or wait? Well, certainly eligibility wise, you would be eligible in terms of your class status. However, if you feel that your application at this time is not very strong, meaning you have to work a little bit more to bring the GPA up, or you need to get a few IT and more specifically cyber projects under your belt. We need to kind of like figure out more, get more knowledge in computer science, maybe, or IT, maybe you're new to the field, then it's always a good option to kind of put it on your wish list and have it as something to work towards in the next academic year, right? Spring 21, fall 21, and then apply in spring 22. Now that's always an option, but it's something that you should decide, and let me know what how you would like to proceed. But that's my advice.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, everyone, just remember that you could just say you have a question in the questions channel, and I'll unmute you.
Hi, my name is Radi Matviv. I'm a grad student at PACE, and I'm graduating in the next semester, spring 2021, and earning my degree in computer science. Basically, so from the information you presented in the presentation, I figured that I'm not eligible for the scholarships, that I wanted to actually get involved more with the club, is, and I just wanted to see what are the ways to get involved with Cybersecurity Club at PACE.
Well, that's an excellent question for the club president and the club's leadership. And I think please, guys, take a moment to address that. But before I pass it on to Elon and the team to tell you, you know, a quick review of how you to get involved, I would also mention that there is a network and data security lab on the city campus led by Professor Gabarty. That's one way in which you can get involved in the hands-on applied aspects of networking, particularly and cyber. And as far as something that I oversee is you could get to participate in the cybersecurity competitions we're hosting or supporting. So those are just a couple of ways. And don't hesitate to to connect with your professors if you're taking any cybersecurity courses. Those courses are great ways to connect with good resources and people. And Elon, would you like to say a few words about the club?
Yeah, sure. I think you summed it up fantastically. By the way, thank you for the question. Yeah, so I mean, we hold meetings, or held, I guess this is the unfortunately last meeting of this semester, official meeting that is. We held meetings throughout this whole semester, and next semester we're going to be holding meetings like crazy. But we're also doing as many cyber competitions as we see that are beneficial for, I mean, at least the skill level for the club. So if you, interact with us here on Discord, every once in a while say something, and follow for those updates about those competitions and the resources that we have, that is probably the perfect way you can get involved over this December or January break. But I mean, in the spring, there will definitely be a lot for you there too. And that goes to everyone. That's not just you, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I hope to get a couple more scholarship questions.
Here, I believe someone had a question. I'm just going to unmute someone really quick.
Hello, my name is Mihir. I am currently a junior. Well, and I'm also an IT major. So a little bit about my background, so I can get into this question. So I've had internships in the private sector, and because of that, do you think I would qualify? I mean, suppose that I'm not likely going to apply for this yearly one, but maybe like in the future sometime. But would I still qualify despite working in private sector? Do you have any input on that?
Oh, absolutely, me here. And you and I know each other because you've attended some of my workshops. Yes, so let me just first make the distinction between eligibility requirements and having a strong application, right? So you're definitely eligible to apply if you meet all the eligibility requirements I have outlined in that presentation slide. Also outlined on the website. But if you meet all the eligibility requirements, then your experience is it's something that only helps you. It's nothing that will hinder your the strength of your application. On the contrary, as much as much experience you can show, internships in general, but particularly in IT, even more helpful if they're in cyber, but they don't have to be. Those are all great experiences that strengthen your.
I think you got cut off.
Sorry, I had to had a little call. So Mihir, is this answering your question?
Yeah. And do you know if it'll be like offered like next year and following year if the applications go around about, because I'm not likely to apply for this round.
Excellent question. So the Department of Defense Cyber Scholarship Program, we have to apply each year. So that's an yearly occurrence. And even the existing students, they have to, scholars, they have to reapply. And the funding comes from the DoD. So as long as the DoD has funds, we'll continue to participate. The Cyber Corps program, if we're not getting the funding, then we are not going to offer the program, at least for another year. We're likely to reapply for funding, but it may take a couple of years before we get to secure those funds to accept new scholars. So yes, look, each year we have the same application pattern. This year, actually, it's a little bit early. It's January 15. It used to be the end of January, but our deadline is 2 weeks early, so we moved the student application deadline as well. But it's the same pattern. January time comes, it's time to apply for cybersecurity scholarships.
And like you said, the two applications will be up on the website by December, right?
Yes, on December 1st. So currently, all the information you have on the website is from last year, but all the current information will be uploaded to the website by December 1st. So that gives you a month and a half, about 6 weeks to prepare an application pack. We have a few more minutes. I encourage you to take advantage of and ask questions.
I actually have something. It's Evan speaking. I'm a sophomore, kind of in the same boat as Will and Elon. Um, for the letters of recommendation, we send them to that email. We direct the professors to send it to that scholarship email, right?
Yes, correct. So typically you can use for both the transcripts and the recommendation letters to expedite the process. You can always use my name or Dr. Chen's name, as because you'll need a person, not just an email address. So you can use our name and title, and then use instead of our personal, just use that email address, cyberscholarship@pace.edu.
Thank you.
Sure, Evan. Thank you. It's a very quiet group. It's the finals. The finals drain your energy.
Remember, if you do have a question, you can type in questions chat, and I'll unmute you. Oh, for the personal essay requirement, is it? I couldn't hear you, but is it necessarily just stating one of the competencies and then just putting a little paragraph under it, or is it supposed to be like a full like normal essay?
Yeah, Evan. Sure, I'd be happy to repeat that information. So, in order to provide clear explanation or clear evidence of competency, the best format is to actually state the competency. You're going to see it in the application form. Um, so there's some written text that the application comes with, and you're going to state that competency, and then you are going to write your response, typically about half a page or so, single spaced, or something around that length for each competency. So competency and your response, competency and your response. And typically, I would format in such a way that it wouldn't be more than 3 pages. So reduce your spacing. And I think using half a page as a guideline for a response is a good way to think about it.
Thank you.
Sure. And excuse me, I see some of the scholars are here as well. So if any of you want to chime in and complement what I say with, additional information, something you have done or something that was helpful to you, what made your application successful, please feel to jump in and share. Because it's much more interesting than me talking about, logistical stuff. So feel free. And again, that's something that your professors or your job supervisors, it's great if they address those competencies specifically. And they may not be in position to address all of them, but at least some of them, and be specific about that. Because that gives it, again, more focus and seeing your strength in a much easier way than if it's just a narrative that, describes you, or your essay just is generic and describes things overall. Using those competencies gives more focus. Moreover, when we revise the applications and we make recommendations to the DoD, or when we revise applications in our panel and make recommendations for awards for SciSP, we are always rating on each and every single competency. So that's how we run the evaluation.
So, Brendan, did you want to go through your application process and what it's like having doing it a couple years?
I don't know if I can say anything that Andre didn't already beautifully put. So let's think. So yeah, I applied So just for the people that don't know me, my name is Brandon DeLuca. I attended PACE for my bachelor's and my master's. At the in the middle of sophomore year, that's when I applied for the Cybercore scholarship. That's the scholarship for service, and the application process is competitive, and that's not to like discourage you, but it is something that you should take really really seriously because the benefits that come out of receiving the scholarship are and like kind of frankly life changing. It puts you on a really good roadmap to success in the future. um, for example, you meet other people that also have the scholarship. You meet different professors, and you develop kind of a network with a group of people. And having a network of people in the cyber industry is often a very, very useful tool when you're looking for employment or you're looking for help on something. Having a network of people that share interests with you is a very good thing to have. Also, the benefits that come with the scholarship are like truly unmatched. The stipends, so you don't have to be concerned about working. The tuition payments, it will leave you feeling very very easy after you graduate. And also, I know Andrea, I listened to your presentation. You had mentioned that you have to look for your own job with the scholarship for service, and yes, that's true. But in addition to that, there's also an annual job fair that's hosted by the government agency that runs the scholarship on their side, and there's a lot of opportunity there to spread your resume and talk to people. So don't let the I have to find a job by myself part be discouraging either, because just by having the scholarship, you will get if you put the work in, you will have obtain the skills that you need to go to the job fair and be a very, very marketable candidate. That's all I have to say. And also, I'll throw it out there that I'm available to answer any questions that anyone might have about, during the process of having the scholarship or what did I do after. Either of those are fine, and I'm available here on Discord if you want to message me. And if there's anything
Thank you.
specifically you wanted me to touch on, in addition, Andrea, I'm here.
Thank you so much, Brendan, for those excellent add-ons to the presentation and for highlighting those aspects. And very grateful to still have you with us.
I'm around.
Okay, I believe
So,
Chris TJ has a question. I'm gonna unmute. Okay, I'll just read it. I'm assuming you don't have a mic. Is there a sample completed application to view?
we do not provide a sample completed application. I can share with you sample resumes, sample statement, but it's important to read the application and fill it out. it's it's about commitment. So the reason why I also mentioned that finding your job and going through this process, it's in a way it's how much do you want this, because the type of work and the amount of work and dedication you have to put in the application will be exactly what will be required of you after you get it. So you can do it, Chris. I'm pretty sure. Just follow through the instructions, and you can always meet with me to get some specific advice on specific components of your application, and you can ask also. Brendan offered his support, but you can ask other folks to give you feedback, but do it yourself first. I know I'm putting you to work. I'm not making your job much easier, but it's going to be worthwhile. And I think Brandon made an excellent point that, not all the students who end up applying for the scholarship program get in. However, it's still a learning experience, and it provides you with a focus and an understanding as to what is it required of you to move in the cybersecurity space. What should you prepare to get into a career? You may end up working in the private sector and not at all going to the government or being the scholarship program, but still having that understanding of what's expected at a high level. It's a good lesson to learn.
And if I could just throw in there real quick, to supplement that, I've known people that have applied for the scholarship who also have not received the scholarship, and there's also people that I know that received the scholarship that realized that during the process they may not have actually been as interested in cyber as they were. So those people, they will go through the application process, and part of that is, readying yourself with the skills that you will need to, participate in like CTF competitions and enhance your skills. And some people will look at those things that are required and be like, hey, maybe this isn't for me. And I also know people that have went through the application process and did not get the scholarship, but still it turned them out for the better. And just because of how like intensive it is of a competitive scholarship, that they would like put everything down and try hard, and they still come out perfectly fine because in the process they still gained a large set of skills.
And also for those of you who are in your first year or second year, you can always use the scholarship application as a wish item and work towards that, and kind of say, okay, what do I need in my portfolio to be competitive, and then use the next academic year to really build that those skills. Alrighty, I guess time is up. And so if there are no more questions for this evening, I want to thank you all again for attending the presentation, and so grateful for the scholars, current scholars joining in, and for former scholars to come in and support. And you know how to get in touch with the program, whether it's myself, Dr. Chen, and I look forward to seeing some applications coming in January. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.